First person to live forever is already alive. At least according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, who explains it with irrefutable logic. It starts with someone that was born in like the past year or so. Our test subject, call him Johnny Boy. The reason Johnny, or any of us, age is because our cells are constantly dividing, making fresh copies of our DNA in each new cell. Our DNA is packed into chromosomes, and since DNA duplication isn't perfect, the tips of these chromosomes are slightly trimmed on every replication. Sort of like making a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. The quality slightly degrades each time.
What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, man, and if you guys don't know what we do, man, we break down scary and creepy videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank my supporters, man, who's tapping into the channel, watching the video entirely, hitting that post notification bell so you always get notified when I upload these videos, and hitting that like button on each and every single video, guys. You guys don't know how much you guys are helping me out by just doing those 3 simple steps, man. Found this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Let's seek the truth.
Who were caught cheating, part 2. In 1994, on the day before the U.S. Figure Skating Championships, title holder Nancy Kerrigan was filmed finishing a practice skate, but just seconds later she was screaming in pain on the ground after a man with a police baton attacked her. The attack severely bruised her knee, which made her unable to compete. Her longtime rival Tonya Harding went on to take first place and was selected alongside her for that year's Winter Olympic skating team. However, police soon discovered that the attack on Kerrigan had been ordered by a bounty hunter. In a shocking twist of events, Tonya Harding's ex-husband Jeff Gillooly and her once bodyguard Sean Eckhart were labeled as the culprits. They'd hired the bounty hunter to break Kerrigan's leg, removing Harding's competition in the upcoming events. Although she claimed she had no part in the conspiracy, Harding later admitted that she knew her ex-husband had been involved, but she'd failed to report it. But karma had the last laugh. At the games, a malfunction with her skates saw Tonya placed down in 8th, while Kerrigan managed a silver in 2nd.
That goes to show you, bro. That's proof of karma right there, man. She knew what was gonna happen, man, to take out the competition. She ain't saying nothing about it, and she still got 8th place. She didn't even get top 1 or 2, man, for the gold or silver medal. That's karma, seekers, right there, in 4K.
Here are some things that 99% of humans can't do. Are you part of the 1%? The ability to raise eyebrows is an evolutionary trait that all of us can do. While pretty much everybody can raise their eyebrows, only 1% of the world can raise one eyebrow at once. Did you know that 99% of the world can't lick their elbow? So you probably can't do this, and I bet you're probably doing it right now. However, for some people, this task is actually really easy, which is due to being born with really flexible bodies or practicing a lot of gymnastics. Only 2% of people can wiggle their ears. Unlike other face muscles, ear muscles are operated by a completely different part of your brain. If you try to use your face muscles to move your ears, it's never gonna work. So you're gonna have to raise your eyebrows and smile widely to lift your ears. And if you're lucky, you might be one of the few people that can move them.
I can't. Seekers, can you guys do any of those things? I think I can do the elbow joint. I think actually I can. But I can't do the ear joint. That's completely different. Or that one eyebrow, what the Rock be doing. I cannot do that. Tell me down below if you can do that, man. I'm actually curious if any of you guys can do that.
These people have died. Part 5. In 2000, Burger King managers Lisa Goetz and Lori Thomas staged a fake robbery of the restaurant where Lori took the money and Lisa acted as the victim, bound with duct tape and trapped in the walk-in cooler. Unfortunately, police didn't arrive until the next morning, where they found Lisa, who died of hypothermia. According to investigators, Lisa could have easily freed herself from her bindings and escaped the unlocked refrigerator, as she had no signs of forced restraint and the duct tape was loose. In 1998, during a heated marital dispute, a 25-year-old man picked up his 20-year-old wife and threw her off their 8th-floor apartment balcony. Somehow the woman became entangled in the power lines below, and in what may have been an effort to save her or maybe finish her off, the man leapt from the balcony aiming for the wires. He missed the power lines completely and plunged to his death, and the woman managed to swing over to a nearby balcony and was saved.
That was an insane case, especially the last one. She tried to aim for the power lines and completely missed, but she made it?
This man was frozen in ice for 3 days, and you won't believe what happened to him. His name is David Blaine, and he went inside a block of ice for 3 days with no food and only tube supplying him with air and water. At the 61-hour mark, he was beginning to lose consciousness, but he couldn't go to sleep because if he leaned on the ice, he would have gotten severe frostbite. Unfortunately, this led him to have extreme hallucinations. Near the end of the stunt, he called his girlfriend over, but she was immediately pulled away. This made him think that he was dead and that she couldn't see him. After 63 hours, they decided to cut him out, but they said he was so delusional, he tried to grab the chainsaw. He finally made it out, but he was so physically and emotionally tired that he couldn't walk or talk. David was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, and after 1 month of therapy, he finally made a full recovery.
If you're watching horror movies and feel like something's watching you, this could be why. A family from Ecuador enjoyed watching horror movies together in their living room. But one night, during their late horror night session, they began to feel a strange presence with them in the living room. Scared, thinking they might have attracted an evil entity into their home, they placed a camera in their living room, and this is what they captured.
Ahí yo fue que ya comencé a sentirme mal. ¿Por qué? Porque mira, a ver, eso yo se lo vi claramente, así, de reojo. Mira, ¿sí viste? Eso sí.
One of the family members is startled as a dark figure can be seen moving behind him. After this, objects began to fly across the room.
La puerta ahí como la tenía trancada, ¿no? Sí, ahí pasa.
And they just get out of there. The family will later call in a priest to bless the house, but the hauntings persist.
This is the stuff of nightmares that's like straight out of the
Is that legit, Seekers?
It has a lot to do with the dark web. Sometime around 2004, when people were just starting to explore what would later be known as the dark web, they would talk about a woman that would show up on your screen, except it wasn't a woman. It was a distorted mask of a woman's face. And what this person would do is that they would recite your full name and your address, and then say, "I'm coming for you." And then the whole screen would go dark.
This is what they mean when they say only 5% of the ocean has been explored. What kind of fish is this?
Did that fish just eat a rock? I mean, like I said, it's true. We only explore like 5% of the ocean, so there could be some species down there that we haven't even seen before. Have you seen that fish before, man? I sure haven't. The more you know. That's scary.
Blood-curdling facts that you wish you never knew. Part 16. Kangaroos are absolutely terrifying, and if you mess with one, it will likely lure you into the water and attempt to drown you. There's an abandoned Disney park that you aren't allowed to go to, and it was shut down in 1999 because it was infested with free-roaming alligators. The animals were being abused, and an 11-year-old boy died from a flesh-eating bacteria found in the park's waters. In the movie The Wizard of Oz, the lion's costume was made out of a real skinned lion. This is the John Lawson house. No one knows who lives there, but every single day, there are several female mannequins sitting on the front porch wearing a variety of clothing. Their positions and outfits change daily, and many believe this is meant to convey some sort of message. And in 1871, a train crash took place just 200 feet away from the home, killing 22 people. And these mannequins are always pointing toward the crash.
Why? Is that a hyena or something?
Yeah, the hyena's a girl. So many may know, female hyenas have a fake meat hose that looks almost identical to the real thing. And for those that don't, nah, actually, that's the lead. They have a pseudo-phallus that they give birth from, and yes, it's as traumatizing as you think, and yes, the very process of birth can end up doing the exact opposite for everyone involved. But low-key, having a built-in flesh strap might explain why hyenas are exactly the way they are. So for most animals, life pretty much comes down to the 3 F's: food, fights, and... So a lot of times when male animals run a fade, it's for the goal of female validation. But hyenas having a female 5th leg means they have a natural crotch block. It's basically anti-mating hardware that means the no-pants dance can only happen if she allows it. So unlike things like lions or bears, there's really no reason for male hyenas to want smoke with each other when getting it in is already RNG. Pun intended. And it's believed having coitus completely out of their control is why male hyenas are way less aggressive and even have less testosterone than the females. Meanwhile, the females are more on go than a green light. And why hyena sisters are way more likely to put each other on a t-shirt. And with them being pack animals with a whole social ladder, the Walking Comedy Club had to become more aggressive just to give their cubs a chance at life. Matter of fact, that's probably why they have more testosterone. So yeah, Alright, moral of this video. Lion King did hyenas every type of dirty, but they got it right when they had Shanti giving orders. And now you know why.
This is why you should be scared of that one person you're talking to online that you're about to meet in real life. Blanca Arellano, a 51-year-old Mexican woman, was looking for love. She met a Peruvian man named Juan Villafuerte on an online gaming app. And on the last day of October, she traveled 3,000 miles to Lima, Peru to meet him. She thought that he could be the one. On November 7th, while in the beach city of Huacho, where Villafuerte lived, Blanca spoke to her niece on the phone and told her that the relationship was going well and that she was in love. Then, she went silent. Her niece suspected something was wrong after not being able to get into contact with her. She called for help on Twitter and reached out to Juan Villafuerte, who said that Blanca got bored of him and left to find a plane ticket back to Mexico, as he could not provide the life she wanted. But the truth was much, much darker. On November 10th, Peruvian authorities found a severed finger on the beach of Huacho. Then in the following days, they found a faceless head and then an arm, and then a torso with no organs inside of it. They eventually identified Blanca Arellano via her family by the ring on her finger. Juan Villafuerte was arrested on charges of human organs trafficking. Authorities found traces of blood all over his apartment, and he reportedly posted TikTok videos of human organs days after Blanca's disappearance. Creepy last words people said right before dying. A nursing assistant said that she was in a long-term patient's room changing the sheets. The patient would periodically look behind her. She asked the patient what was wrong, and the patient looked in her eyes and asked, "He doesn't scare you?" The nurse was confused, and she asked her who she was referring to, and the patient said, "The big man in the top hat. He's standing right behind you." She said that she doesn't think that she has ever finished changing a bed sheet and repositioning a patient as fast as she did that night. She refused to go into that room by herself for the rest of her shift. Linda Johnson, a former nurse, said that she had a gentleman in his late 90s who was dying. He started screaming blood-curdling screams, so they raced to his room. He was screaming that the room was on fire and that there was a man with large horns peering out of the flames. He kept pointing to one wall, saying that it was on fire. The nurses turned on the lights and tried to calm and console him, but to no avail. Instead of being consoled, Linda said that he told her that she was on fire and that he could see her being consumed by flames. Linda said that it was the creepiest thing that has ever happened to her. The doctor was notified, but nothing relieved the patient's terrifying hallucinations. He died soon after. Cynthia said that several years ago, her 20-year-old daughter had brain surgery. She got an infection of the spinal fluid. She was there in grave condition for a month. Cynthia never left her daughter's side. One night, the worst night at this point, she asked who the man in black was that was standing by the bathroom, and why Cynthia's deceased brother, the girl's uncle, was standing next to her at the side of the bed. Cynthia immediately got the chills. She told her daughter, "They're not here." Then she told her brother and the man in the black, whom she couldn't see, "You both have to go now. She's not ready to go, and I'm not ready to let her go." After that night, her daughter started to get better and better each day. Today, her daughter is doing well.
September 25th, 1981, something very strange took place up in the Smoky Mountains. This is a picture of Pauline Melton, and it would end up being one of the last known photos of her. Because while Pauline was up there, she was with two hiking companions. They described that she, all of a sudden, without explanation, just started to rapidly speed up. They even described that they called out to her. They were asking, "Pauline, where are you going? Pauline." She never answered. She never looked back until she crossed over a hill. Since that exact moment, Pauline was never seen again. And to this day, they still have no idea where she went and why she did it.
Isn't that crazy, Seekers, man? You could go in the woods and just drop off the face of the earth. Man, that's how I'm going, man. You gotta go with a big group, bro. I don't want nothing to happen.
Donald Trump was shot this afternoon at a political rally in Pennsylvania. As you can see right here, this was moments after the shots were fired. Now, we don't have all the information right now, but obviously he is still alive. And the footage is absolutely disturbing. In the clip, you can hear multiple gunshots ring out. The audience starts screaming. Trump drops to the ground. He is covered quickly by the Secret Service agents. In the broadcast footage, he grasps his ear, so he may have been grazed by a bullet up there. Like I said, we don't have all the information. This is a developing story, but this isn't the first time that someone has tried to assassinate a president or former president. In 1912, an assassin attempted to end the life of Teddy Roosevelt as he was on the campaign trail. This man was former salon keeper John Schrank. And he would later claim that William McKinley's ghost had visited him in a dream and told him to avenge him for his assassination. Teddy Roosevelt, after being shot, continued with his speech, even as he profusely bled through the front of his shirt. And while he didn't end up getting elected that year, doctors at the time said that it was safer for him to keep the bullet inside his body than attempt to remove it. So, for the rest of his life, he carried on with a bullet lodged in his chest. Then in 1981, someone attempted to assassinate Ronald Reagan. This photo was actually taken just moments before the shots were fired. 3 people were injured in this attack, but nobody died. And obviously, as you guys probably already know, Ronald Reagan survived. He was in critical condition when he was rushed to the hospital, but nobody ended up passing away from this assassination attempt. The guy who did it was named John Hinckley Jr., and weirdly enough, he had been obsessed with actress Jodie Foster after watching the film Taxi Driver, and he claimed that he had carried out the assassination attempt in an attempt to impress her. And interestingly enough, he just signed a record deal last year and will be releasing a folk album soon.
Really?
What's going on with Aubrey Wyatt?
The hell?
Aubrey was a 13-year-old girl who went to Ocean Springs Middle School in Ocean Springs, Mississippi. In September of 2023, Aubrey took her own life after being bullied by a group of 4 girls. Even after Aubrey's death, those bullies continued to harass her and bully her. Aubrey's mom, Heather, ran to social media as an outlet to talk about Aubrey and just to try to cope with everything that went on. On her account, she would talk about bullying and ultimately what it could lead up to. Although Heather did not name or threaten those 4 girls, their names and personal information ended up being shared by others. Heather was the subject of 2 separate lawsuits brought by the parents of those girls. The Jackson County judge ordered Heather to take down all of her social media accounts so she could no longer talk about Aubrey's case, and they did this so that they could protect the minors in this case. Shortly after that, Heather started a GoFundMe page to raise money to help with legal costs to be allowed to keep fighting online on Aubrey's behalf. I truly hope that Aubrey gets some kind of justice in the end.
The first person to live forever is already alive. At least according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, who explains it with irrefutable logic. It starts with someone that was born in like the past year or so. Our test subject, call him Johnny Boy. The reason Johnny, or any of us, age is because our cells are constantly dividing, making fresh copies of our DNA in each new cell. Our DNA is packed into chromosomes, and since DNA duplication isn't perfect, the tips of these chromosomes are slightly trimmed on every replication. Sort of like making a photocopy of a photocopy of a photocopy. The quality slightly degrades each time. To protect against this, our chromosomes have something called telomeres on their tips, which essentially contain junk DNA data that we can afford to lose. But even these telomeres are finite. They get shorter and shorter on every duplication until at some point they're fully gone. Then the cell stops dividing, gradually loses its function and withers away. The more this happens in our cells, the more we age, and our bodies experience age-related characteristics. Scientists like David Sinclair are currently getting really close to reversing this process in human cells. He's developed what he refers to a chemical cocktail that can reprogram the way our cells are read to sort of fill in the blanks from these imperfections in our DNA replication. The science behind it is quite extensive, and he ran tests on lab mice that were incredibly successful. Having mice born at the same time, with one looking visibly older than the other, says that human trials are planned to start within the decade, and it's just a matter of time before we start seeing success in that. So where does this live forever come from? Obviously, the first version of this cocktail won't be perfect. It may extend human life to, let's say, 150 years. Now remember our test subject, Johnny Boy? In 20 years, he'll be 20, at which time we're almost guaranteed to be undergoing human trials at the very least, if not already publicly available. This life potion is given to Johnny so that he can live until 150. The claim states that by the time Johnny is 40, we're almost guaranteed to make enough advancement to double the anti-aging cocktail so that now he can live till 300. 20 years later, when he's 60, the potion will be approved so that he can live till 500 years old. By the time he's 80, he can live till 1,000. These numbers are all arbitrary, but the general principle still holds up. Even if we start seeing diminishing returns in the improvements of this concoction, Johnny has already hacked his way into living forever. He can already live till 1,000 at this point, so even if it takes 100 more years to improving the medicine to living till, say, 2,000 years old, he'll live until then and take it, constantly outliving the improvement curve of anti-aging until they've cracked the code to the million-year potion, at which point Johnny Boy is essentially immortal. Which means one of 2 things absolutely must happen in our future. One, one, we colonize other planets, or two, we stop having babies. If people are living forever and no longer dying, our population will continue to grow and just grow and grow. At which point we either need more space to put people, like other planets, or we gotta stop making people. So unless we want to sterilize the entire human race, living forever probably isn't a good idea until we figure this multi-planetary business out.
Things that show...
What do you guys think about that theory, Seekers? The age gap, but it just kept going and going and going, man. They're working on stuff, man, to make us not age no more. We live forever, trying to make us immortal. What do you guys think about that?
Show off the power of time. Part 7. Disney World has had about 58 million visitors per year since it opened in 1971. And during those visits, guests would often have to wait in lines that were organized by rope walkways. And if you look closely at the rope clips, you can see that they've started to wear down. Some have even created a new groove. And no, I'm not talking about Cusco. Next, watching waves at the shoreline might seem like a calming activity, but not if you're a resident of Green Bay, Wisconsin. Over time, the waves wore the shoreline and even took a huge chunk out of it. Now, this would usually take several years for the effects to be seen. But in the case of Green Bay, this all happened within the span of an hour.
Wow, what the hell? The power of water.
And lastly, we're told that tattoos are permanent, but this may not be the case. Because this guy got a tattoo of a flower on the palm of his hand. And in just 2.5 months, the tattoo mostly vanished. This is mainly because our palms experience a lot of friction from how often we rub our hands. So if you want a tattoo, you might want to avoid your palm.
Bro,
You got the
most wholesome animal on earth. Brother, if you wanted a manatee video, you could have just asked. Did you know when alligators and manatees cross paths underwater, the alligators seem to let them pass a prehistoric sledgehammer and they give manatees the right of way? That's how you know you got motion in the ocean. There's never been a record of a manatee attacking a human, and it might be because it's literally physically impossible. One is because their teeth are way in their mouths, and their mold is designed for grinding grass, not biting. You know, if you ever get bit by a manatee, that means you were in his throat, and if you were, that means this law was for you. Some things don't need exploring Columbus. Also, some scientists think that because adult manatees have no predators, and because they don't have to fight each other over who eats what grass, there's a lot of talk that the sea squishy is mentally incapable of feeling aggression. Now, I don't know if that's true, but I will say 3 things. 1, they don't just eat grass, they'll go pescatarian if the opportunity presents itself. 2, as fast as you think manatees are, they're faster. It might not be with malicious intent, but 1,200 pounds of anything moving like that is definitely cause to pause. And 3, last year a popular manatee named Q, past tense, after essentially explicit interaction with a bigger male named Buffett, tore him open like a reverse butt birth. The catch: Buffett was his brother. Yeah, that's pretty bad, but did you know manatees are also closely related to my favorite animal? They even got the same nail tech. So yeah, I'm a little biased, so I'm gonna let it slide. Especially since I'm pretty sure it wasn't aggression, but just a dangerous lack of awareness. But yeah, God bless this water blimp, and R.I.P. Hugh.
R.I.P. Hugh, bro. I don't know manatees were related to like elephants. I saw that. We learn new things every day, Seekers,
Don't
man.
freak out, but we are right now entering the beginning of the end of the universe. 95% of all the stars that will ever form have already formed. And it gets even crazier than that. There is a sphere around us called the Hubble sphere. Beyond this point, everything is moving away from us faster than the speed of light due to the expansion of space itself. And how many of the galaxies do you think are outside of this sphere? 94% of all the galaxies we can see are beyond this boundary today. Meaning, no matter how hard we try, if there are aliens living in these galaxies, we will never be able to meet them. 60,000 stars pass beyond this horizon every single second. That's nearly 2 million solar systems we can no longer visit since the start of this video. This will continue until we are all alone. The universe as we know it, with all the beautiful galaxies and nebulae, will slowly fade away into darkness, and the astronomers of the future will point their telescopes everywhere, finding the same thing: darkness and silence for the rest of eternity.
Here are horrible things done by very influential people. Everyone knows Steve Jobs for founding Apple, but what most people don't know is the dark side of his personal life. He had an on and off relationship with a woman named Kristen Brennan, and this led to a messy pregnancy and a years-long paternity battle. Steve Jobs refused to help Brennan and their child financially, and she had to go on welfare. Now, eventually, he did help his daughter, but only because Brennan came forward about his behavior in an interview with Time magazine in 1982. Before becoming a popular kids book author, Theodore Seuss Geisel, aka Dr. Seuss, served in the animation department of the United States Army during World War II. He wrote training and propaganda films, and designed posters to get people signed up to to join the army. But a lot of his work at the time made the Japanese look really horrible, and this carried on into his earlier books. And Mother Teresa helped provide healthcare to the sick and the poor, but her actions behind the scenes were questionable, to say the least. It's been reported that her care involved these people allegedly going through a forced conversion to Catholicism, which involved children being baptized without their parents' consent. She also allegedly hid the actions of priests who were behaving inappropriately around children, and used charity funds for her own medical care. Yeah, this is not what Jesus would do.
This teacher was caught doing it with an 8th grade student, and apparently it was almost daily. The kid was 13 years old, and now she will serve 10 years in prison. This happened in Texas. The teacher behind me, her name is Alexandria Vera. She's 25 years old, and this 13-year-old got her pregnant. She stated the relationship happened in the Instagram DMs, and his family apparently approved of this relationship. The judge and the school district said that they want their teachers to teach students, not put their hands all over their students. She was originally going to get 30 years in prison, but the judge said, I don't think she's that bad, and gave her 10 years. Apparently this relationship blossomed in 2015 around summertime. The boy kept advancing, she kept denying, but eventually she gave in apparently. Prosecutors said, based on evidence, they did it daily for 9 months straight. And apparently during the entire ordeal, to get away with this, she told her neighbors that the boy was her brother. And now it gets even weirder. She even moved his father in with her so she could pretend she was dating the father when in reality she was the kid. This was kind of a mask. She was also paying for the family's groceries and phone bill. This kid literally had a sugar mama. Now Alexandria Vera has a 6-year-old daughter that even called the 13-year-old kid her dad. What an interesting case. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you're from Houston, Texas, did you hear about this case around you guys? As always, these videos are for informational purposes only. Once again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I definitely feel like she should have served life for this. She knew exactly what she was doing, but the court system was pretty lenient on her.
I may get caught right away. Basically, if I get caught, I'm just going to shoot myself. So, I could basically be dead in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I don't know. There's a chance at this point.
The video you just saw was made by murderer Peter Keller, who in 2012 murdered his wife and daughter before taking his own life. Now, in the lead up to murdering his family, Peter actually made a series of disturbing vlogs. He took a handy cam out with him into the woods and showed him preparing for something. He actually was creating an underground bunker stocked with all sorts of supplies like candy and beans. And during these videos, he talks to the camera very candidly, and it's some really disturbing stuff. The videos offer a glimpse into the mind of a killer who's on edge. He didn't know at the time whether or not he could actually follow through with murdering his wife and daughter, but unfortunately, he did. On April 22nd, 2012, after constructing the bunker in the woods unbeknownst to his family, Peter shot both his wife Lynette and his daughter Kayleen in the face with a silenced weapon before he set his house on fire. He then fled to the underground bunker and was able to evade capture by the police for a whopping 6 days. But once authorities figured out where Peter was, they surrounded the bunker with a SWAT team, and that's when he fired the fatal shot into his own head, taking his own life. In his video recordings, Peter talks about how it'll be exciting to live out in the bunker, and he discusses his fantasy of robbing banks and pharmacies and living on the run. But his run didn't last that long, and he left behind so many questions and a trail of blood and sadness. If you want to hear more stories like this, listen to the podcast Murder in America that I co-host with my wife Courtney. It's available now on all streaming platforms.
It's a tragic case, man. Truly tragic. You guys, if you guys made it with me to the end of the video, you're a true seeker seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, make sure you guys, man, follow me on all my social medias, man. Links in the description down below, guys. Also, man, hit that post notification bell. Also, man, hit that like button, man. That's very important, man. It's gonna push us in the algorithm. We're gonna take off one day, man. But we just going step by step by now, and I really appreciate the support I have for right now. You guys gonna catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing alright, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, you guys don't know what we do. We break down scary and creepy videos on and out on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank the supporters, man, who's been subscribing to the channel, hitting that post notification bell, hitting that like button, man. You're helping us grow the seekers. I really appreciate the support, man. Let's do what we do best. Let's seek the truth.
Did you know know that there's a disturbing backstory to this children's book? This is Eric and Corey Richens, and they live together with their 3 young children in Utah. Eric had a renovation business, and Corey was a real estate agent. On March 4th of 2022, around 3:22 a.m., Corey called 911 after walking into her room, and according to her, she saw Eric lying on the ground and he just looked cold to the touch. Once officers and paramedics arrived at the scene, and they did pronounce him dead. Corey stated that that night she made a vodka drink for her husband to celebrate that she had sold a house. She then stated she went to go lay down with one of her children in their room because they were having nightmares, and she returned to her and her husband's room around 3 a.m., and that's when she found Eric on the floor. An autopsy was done on Eric, and it revealed that he died after ingesting 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl.
Damn.
Not long after Eric's death, Corey had published a children's book called Are You With Me? And this was catered towards children who were grieving after losing one of their parents. Investigators ended up looking through Corey's phone, and that's when they saw text messages between her and another person finding drugs for them to poison Eric. This was not the first time that Corey tried to poison Eric, just the other times she just did not succeed.
What?
Supposedly Eric wanted a divorce from Corey, and just a few weeks before his death, he has changed his will and life insurance policy. Eric had told his family many times, if something happens to me, it's my wife's fault. Corey was arrested and is currently sitting in jail waiting on trial.
A story that just continues to keep me up at night is what happened to the Yuba County 5. 1978, there were 5 men that were coming from a basketball game in Chico back down to Yuba City in the middle of the night. Now, all 5 of the men suffered from mild intellectual and psychological disability. Never gonna know why they did this, but for some reason, when they were on the highway, they got off of the highway and went onto a dirt back road in the Plumas National Forest. You know, is that for whatever reason, they eventually got out of their car and started walking on foot. And they vanished. Police eventually found that car and they expected something's wrong with this. Not the case. The car had gas and it was working fine, so why did they get out of it and walk through the woods? Nobody knew what happened to them until eventually somebody stumbled into this cabin. Quick before I get into it, if you want the full episode on this, you can listen to it on Creep Time, the podcast. Inside that cabin was the body of Ted Wire, and he had lost 80 pounds. Didn't make any sense because the cabin was full of food. Eventually they found everyone's body except for Gary Mathias.
This 74-year-old woman.
What the hell happened, man? Like they said, they just went on a dirt back road and just started walking. And they just found him in a cabin? Something more to that case, man, that we didn't know about. I have to deep dive into that one.
Woman robbed the bank after she was scammed of her life savings. This all happened in Ohio when Ann Mayers walked inside a credit union with a face mask on and demanded that the bank teller give her money while she threatened them with a gun. She ended up only taking $500 and then she got in her car and drove off. It only took police 2 hours to find Ann in her home, and when they arrived, she was gardening and pretended like she had no idea what was going on. She eventually admitted to the crime, and it turns out that Ann was recently scammed out of thousands of dollars online and owed a lot of money to family and friends. And because of that, she became pretty desperate and felt like her only way out of this mess was to rob a bank and thought that she would get away with it. Her sister also told police that Ann was going around telling family members that she was going to do this, but everyone thought that she was only joking. She was charged with aggravated robbery with a firearm and tampering with evidence and is being held on a $100,000 bond.
The UK's heaviest man, Jason Holton, has just passed away 1 week before his 34th birthday. His heartbroken mother said that he began overeating as a teenager after his father passed away, and at one point he was eating roughly 10,000 calories a day. Over the years, his weight increased to the point where his legs could no longer hold him, and after becoming bedridden, he didn't leave his room for a staggering 6 months. He said he would cry every day because he felt like he had imprisoned himself. At that point, he weighed around 317 kg, or for those who in the US, 700 pounds. In 2020, his organs began to shut down, and he had to be airlifted by a crane from his mother's 3rd floor flat by a team of more than 30 firemen and engineers. When he got to the hospital, doctors said that they wanted to send him to London Zoo to get a heart scan because the only machine big enough to hold him was used by vets for very large animals. Luckily, thanks to his treatment at hospital, his condition began to stabilize. But 4 years later, he was rushed to hospital yet again. But this time, doctors said that they couldn't save him, and he had about a week left to live. The coroner's report stated on Tuesday he died from organ failure and obesity at only 33 years old.
Man, he was young. can't believe you said it took like a team of that many people just to get him down with that crane. That's insane, man. Be careful what you eat.
This woman got 0 prison time after stabbing her boyfriend 108 times. In 2018, 26-year-old Chad O'Melia's life was savagely taken in his apartment in California by his girlfriend. 33-year-old Bryn Spetcher says that on this day, she was tricked by Chad into smoking a highly potent strain of marijuana, which caused her to go into psychosis. She says that she remembers immediately walking into the kitchen and grabbing several knives and stabbed her dog before going after Chad and taking his life. Bryn then turned the knife on herself and attempted to take her own life before police arrived. And authorities also said that it wasn't easy restraining Bryn and that the taser didn't even work on her. Now, Bryn's defense argues that she reacted this way because she only smoked less than 6 times in her life, which that combined with the high potent marijuana explains why she took her boyfriend's life. Bryn ended up only receiving just 2 years of probation, 100 hours of community service, and no prison time. This pastor...
That case, man, is freaking dangerous, man, because it can kind of set a precedent, man, if somebody didn't, you know, take that type of, you know, material before or something like that, and something happens, they just don't have no freaking responsibility to it, man. That's why I said, just stay away from those type of things, seekers, because, you know, like drinking and doing that, man, activity, it could change you. It could change you to a whole different person. That's why me personally, I try to stay away from that stuff as much as I can, because that just ain't me.
Being accused of unaliving his own wife. This case is currently ongoing, but it's been so highly suggested, so this is what we know so far. On April 28th, Pastor John Paul Miller made the shocking announcement at the end of his church service that his wife, Micah, had unalived herself. He then asked everyone to leave quietly and not discuss his wife's death. Micah's family and friends do not believe this cause of death and have taken to social media with the hashtag Justice for Micah. John Paul also wrote Micah's obituary, where he talked mostly about himself, not even Micah, who was the one that passed away. He also painted their marriage as like a perfect relationship, which is really odd considering that Micah filed for divorce and a restraining order against her husband only days before her passing. The weeks prior to Micah's passing, she was sharing on Facebook about abusive relationships and really just hinting that something wasn't right. A friend of Micah's has come out and confirmed that Micah told her that there was abuse in the marriage, and also that church funds were being used for things not church related. And since more friends and family of Micah have come out with similar accounts. Also been some speculation that John Paul was having an affair, a years-long affair with this woman that he's been seen in the days before and the days after Micah's death. That woman's husband also passed away in a really suspicious way, but that's just online speculation for right now. The investigation is currently ongoing, so hopefully we have answers really, really soon. But in the meantime, make sure to leave all your thoughts, theories, questions, and case suggestions in the comments for me.
The FBI
caught a serial killer whose goal was to become a beast or an animal, specifically a bear/saber-toothed tiger hybrid. He had built himself a beast suit that he was using to maul his victims. When the FBI was originally looking at the bodies of the deceased, they thought it was a regular animal mauling. However, they soon realized it was fossilized skulls that were making these impressions. This led them to investigate Randall Tier, a man who was working at an anthropology department at a museum. He engineered the suit himself at his house, and he used parts of bones that he was stealing from his museum job. However, Randall Tier is also a victim in this situation, because when he was younger, he was seeing a psychiatrist for these urges that he was having to become a beast, but his psychiatrist was none other than Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal Lecter is far from an ethical psychiatrist and actually used psychic driving to make Randall Tier become the beast that he is today. He actively encouraged Randall's urges to become a beast and even gave him ideas on how to do this and how to be sneaky about it. And that's another reason why Hannibal Lecter is so evil, and I make this point all the time. Because Hannibal Lecter is not just a serial killer, he's not just eating people, he is actively incubating other serial killers as his career goes on as a psychiatrist.
How far would you go to get more guac at Chipotle? Because this man shot an employee at Chipotle over his serving size. On April 5th, 32-year-old Aaron Brown walked into a Chipotle in Southfield, Michigan to order some food and then insulted an employee when he wasn't served enough guac. Aaron was then seen on surveillance video going around the counter and packing his order with more guac until a worker knocked the guac out of his hand. That's when Aaron grabbed the 21-year-old worker and slammed him into the fridge and shot him in the knee. And while all the customers were terrified and ran out the restaurant, Aaron was seen calmly collecting his food and drove off without speeding. But Aaron didn't even make it too far, since this Chipotle was located across the street from the police station, and he was arrested. He was charged and was being held in the Oakland County Jail on a $20,000 bond. And all for some guac.
For some guac? Really? People need to really think their priorities, man. When I be hearing cases like that, like over these small items, it really makes you think how like people just over-exaggerate over the smallest things, man. Always amazes me, bro. Over some damn guac? Really? You can just ask for extra, man? Let's edit. Call it out like I see it. Damn, teleconnected too.
Do you think that you would be able to predict if someone in your life is or could become a serial killer? Is there a trait that they all have in common? Is there a recipe that creates a serial killer? Are they born evil? Is it a product of their environment? Some experts believe that there is a recipe, the McDonald's triad, which are 3 elements that are the key to predict if someone will grow up to become a serial killer. Being cruel to animals, setting things on fire, and wetting the bed after the age of 5. Many experts also say that a serial killer's childhood holds the key and believe that nearly 100% of serial killers experience some kind of mistreatment in their childhood. I find really interesting because some of the most infamous serial killers, Ted Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, Paul Bernardo, all claim to have come from really loving childhoods. Turns out that head trauma in adolescence could also be a big factor. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, David Berkowitz, son of Sam, and Fred West, and many others all experienced some kind of extreme head trauma in their adolescence that resulted in a change of behavior. So it's pretty well known that the majority of serial killers are white men between the ages of 25 and 34, but did you know a majority of serial killers are from the United States? By like a ridiculous majority. These statistics are so scary. For my astrology girlies, most serial killers are either Virgos or Geminis. New York is the state with the most serial killers, and most serial killers are born in November than any other month. Statistically, you are more likely to become a serial killer if you're the eldest child, and the least likely if you are an only child. Also more likely to become a serial killer if you are left-handed. What do you think makes a serial killer? Do you think it's genetics or a bad childhood, or just because they are left-handed? And is there anyone in your life that maybe you're looking at a little bit differently now? Let me know in the comments.
Maybe it's a combination of all of them.
So if you didn't know, this woman's name is Brianna Williams, and what you just watched was her reaction to finding out that the police had discovered her sinister secret. So back in early November of 2019, Brianna contacts the police in order to report her 5-year-old daughter, Taylor Williams, missing, stating that she had seen her the night before, but in the morning, she was gone. Taylor's disappearance sent shockwaves through the community, and people quickly began looking for her, but she was nowhere to be found. However, weeks into the investigation, doubts begin to surface as detectives realize Brianna's story just doesn't make sense. Then, all of a sudden, Taylor's remains are found 400 miles away from her house, with investigators ruling that her cause of death was starvation, meaning Brianna had unalived her. At this point, Brianna knows that the police had figured out what she had done, so she tries to unalive herself, but this fails and she gets arrested. In court, Brianna is found guilty of Taylor's death and is sentenced to a well-deserved life in prison. Brianna's story shows that you cannot escape justice and that karma will always catch up to you.
Missing American and Australian surfers were just found dead in a well in Mexico. Behind me is Callum and Jake Robinson and Jack Road. They were missing for about a week, and then they were found dead in a well in Ensenada, Mexico. They all disappeared on April 28th. They were last seen in Baja California surfing.
One of the family members got worried because one of the men were a type 1 diabetic and he hadn't communicated for a while, which was out of character for him. Then on Saturday, May 4th, all of the men were found inside of a well, and a fourth man was also found, but he was unrelated to these three. Apparently, the fourth random man's body had been there for a long time, so I'm assuming this is kind of a reoccurring thing that was happening. They were killing people and stuffing them in the well here. Police believe these men were killed by thieves trying to steal things from their trucks, such as tires, catalytic converters, stuff like that. All three men were fatally shot and dumped inside of the well. And 3 men in connection with his death have been arrested. Names have not been released yet. And apparently this well was boarded up, making it nearly impossible to find. Let me know what you guys think about this story in the comment section below. And as always, these videos are for informational purposes only.
I've been hearing like things, man, about like tourists, how they gotta be careful, you know, when you go out to different countries, especially because you never know what could happen, man. Somebody's watching you, they know you coming from a different place, and they just straight targeted you, and look what happened, man. There were some surfers just trying to go out for a good time, and a tragic ending, man. Gotta be careful nowadays, seekers. Sad but true. Edit.
Warning, viewer discretion is advised. In April 2015, Shayna Sims arrived at a funeral home posing as a makeup artist. A 38-year-old woman called Tabitha had recently passed from natural causes, and Shayna was there to work on the body. While she was there, instead of making the body look presentable for her funeral, Shayna carved off one of Tabitha's breasts and cut off one of her toes. She tore clumps of Tabitha's hair out, smeared her makeup, and then slashed her face. She even stole the shoes off Tabitha's feet before leaving. The attack was discovered by 2 horrified members of the funeral home who raced to tell the manager about what they had found. The police later arrested Shayna, and she was found with a folding knife with strands of Tabitha's hair still attached to it, as well as a pair of scissors, a box cutter, and various makeup items. During the trial, it was revealed that Shayna had snapped after learning that her husband was apparently having an affair with Tabitha. Seething with anger, she took brutal revenge on her love rival, and was found guilty of eating a body, interrupting a funeral, and unlawful removal of a body part from a deceased person. Shayna Sims was sentenced to 16 years in prison, but was released after only serving 4.
Update, James ruining the vacations with her TikToks.
That was the last TikTok ever posted by TikToker Anthony Barajas, aka Anthony Michael. On July 26, 2021, Anthony and his friend Riley were seeing a movie. On that evening, they were seeing the ironically violent film The Forever Purge, which itself is a critique on American violence. On that day, the two of them were just sitting inside of the theater enjoying the film when suddenly they were both shot in the back of the head. Now, sadly, Riley Goodrich, who was 18 at the time, would die at the scene, but Anthony, who was 19 at the time, was taken to a hospital but passed away a few days later. But why did this happen? Well, it's not a very clear story. So this is Joseph Jimenez, and he was actually arrested the day after the murder. He was the guy who pulled the trigger. Now, Joseph's friends were actually in the movie theater. There were only 6 people in the theater at the time. And they said that during the movie, Joseph was acting strange. He was mumbling to himself, and at one point he left the theater and came back in with some sort of a package. Joseph's friends then left the theater because they were afraid of what he might do, and a few moments later they saw Joseph running out of the side door, getting into his vehicle and speeding away. So it turns out that Joseph had just randomly decided to murder Riley and Anthony. There was no motivation, he didn't know these two, he just decided he had to kill somebody. And strangely, their bodies weren't discovered until after the movie was over, because there was only 6 people in the theater, including Joseph, his 3 friends, and these 2. So according to Joseph, he was hearing voices that were saying his friends and family were going to be killed if he didn't take a life. He also stated that he wished he didn't do it, but unfortunately, you can't take back an action like that. It's just chilling that even just sitting in a movie theater, an act of violence like this can strike you. And obviously, rest in peace to Riley and Anthony. This is such a tragic story.
The reason that I felt one was a serial killer, because I've come across people that have killed a lot of people in gang wars before. You know, I did the video about No Limit, G Herbo's crew. There's a guy called Mad Max that, you know, they say he had 9 or 10 bodies, right? But I think, for me, Where I felt he became a serial killer was you got these multiple murders. There's more than 3 murders, and they're more than a month apart. Some of them are years apart. It was really like, when he became famous, the personal gratification that he seemed to get out of killing, I would say he was responsible for the murder of FBG Duck in a way that he felt responsible. He tweeted a go emoji like minutes after Duck was killed. You know, he got a lot of personal gratification out of these killings. I think he wanted to continue these killings. He wanted the whole world to know. I wish I'd have thought of this when I made the documentary. I've only thought of it after, but I feel like he's the closest I could describe him to a traditional serial killer is the Zodiac killer. Because Von killed all these people, he became famous, he wanted everyone to know that he killed all these people. You know, you ain't a killer if you only got 2 bodies. Like, talk about bodies, I got 2, 4 plus 3, 3 plus 2. Like, Von wanted the whole world to know that he was killing. He was putting out these codes. He was getting this personal gratification from killing, and he still wanted to kill. He wanted to have Duck killed. He wanted to have Man killed. There was a supposed rumored body in Atlanta. Now, I kind of disproved that in the video, but it's like, he wanted people to know he was a killer. I think he was more interested in getting people killed than rapping.
I heard about I've seen some seen some videos on it, how I seen King Von was really like that, bro. I know like he had that different side to him, man. Might have to check out a video or two. What do you guys think? Believe that about King Von?
Here's what Baby Reindeer didn't tell you. Unless you've been living under a rock for the past few weeks, you will probably have heard of Baby Reindeer. It's a new series on Netflix, which is a harrowing account of abuse and stalking. Now, it's told by the actual victim in this case, who plays himself. However, there are a few things that have been missed out. Now, Richard Gadd, as I said, was the victim in this case and told the story by playing himself. But Richard was actually a lot more successful than he gave himself credit for in the drama. He featured as an actor on Outlander and Click, and he also more recently co-wrote an episode of Sex Education. Obviously, we know Martha's real name and identity were left out of the series. Richard also intentionally changed elements of her character. He said that he wanted to change bits of her life, as well as obviously using a different name for her in the series, so that she wouldn't be hounded in real life. He actually wanted to prevent people from harassing the real stalker. Another element that was left out of the story were exactly how many messages his stalker left for him. Now, Richard has since stated that there were over 41,000 emails, 744 tweets, and 46 Facebook messages from 4 different Facebook accounts. He stated that the total length of all of the voicemails that the real Martha left for him totaled over 350 hours. She also sent him 106 pages of actual physical letters, which we never saw in the series. Richard stated that not only did his stalker send him emails, Facebook messages, and tweets, she actually also sent him physical gifts. These gifts included an actual baby reindeer toy as a present, and she also sent him sleeping tablets and boxers.
Another true crime story of how they were caught. Lee Hartley, a lieutenant in the Navy, was on a carrier warship when he started feeling ill. Started having stomach cramps and vomiting. He would get better, but then get sick again, and it got so bad he had to get flown out to Florida, where he later died in the hospital. A savvy doctor noticed that all his organs had been so damaged that he suspected there might be heavy metal poisoning, and he requested that at an autopsy. Because of that doctor, they tested for possible poisons, and they found that there was arsenic in his system. Now police had to look at 4,000 possible suspects aboard the ship. Police scoured all over the ship but couldn't find the source of the arsenic. Police were also able to learn that while he was in Spain 3 months before his death, he was also feeling ill, along with another shipmate. Police also found out when the ship stopped in Spain, his wife had actually flown out to meet with him for 8 days. She had cooked both men breakfast before they fell ill. Police interviewed his wife Pamela, and she denied involvement and would pass a polygraph test, and the case would go cold for 13 years. Then in 1995, police reopened the investigation and started interviewing people close to the family. Police interviewed Pam's brother, who actually said she had recruited him to try to kill her husband, but he refused. Arsenic is retained in the fingernails and hair of victims longer, so forensics were able to look at a strand of his hair to get a timeline of when he ingested the arsenic and how long he'd been exposed to it. Police determined that his wife Pamela sent him care packages when he was on deployment, and through those hair samples learned that he first got ill just a few weeks weeks when he was on his deployment. He was then sick in Spain when his wife was there. Police believe the victim consumed baked goods from his wife while he was on ship, and he continued to fall ill before he was hospitalized. Police also noted that Pam visited him in the hospital in Florida, and the arsenic samples spiked yet again while she was there with him. Police interrogated Pamela and confronted her with the evidence and information, and she quickly confessed. She told police she loved her husband so much she didn't want to break his heart by getting a divorce. What's crazy is she was charged with second-degree murder, would get a 40-year sentence, but would be released after 16 years. But that was how she was caught.
Crazy, man. These people, they just can't lead the relationships. If like both of them being alive or something like this, like, bro, somebody wants to end a relationship, they always have to do the unthinkable, man, to end it all. Because she said she don't want to break his heart. But look what happened. These cases seekers, man. Learn more and more each and every single day. If you guys stay with me to the end of the video, if you're a truth seeker seeking the truth, I really appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, if you guys want me to react to other different TikTok clips, man, like I said, guys, follow me on my social medias, and you guys can send me the clips in my DM so I can incorporate them into the next video, man. If you guys want me to check out some more stuff, like I said, I'm also working on making a Discord, man, but it's more complicated than I thought, but I'm trying to work through it. So at least if you guys don't want to send me it on my social medias, I can make up the Discord and you guys can send it there. But we're growing seekers. Really appreciate the support, man. We're gonna keep going. For uploading daily this whole month, man. So we need it. I want to see some clapping emojis in the comment section down below, man. So you guys support. You guys gonna catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, seekers. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? Hopefully you guys are doing all right, man. If you guys are brand new to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, man. We break down scary and creepy videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG reels, Facebook, anything weird, usual, and unexplained you can find right here on this channel. Just want to thank my supporters, man, who's tapping into the channel, watching the video entirely, hitting that post notification button, man, and hitting that like button on each and every video. Greatly appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Let's seek the truth.
It's the only way to escape quicksand. If you ever somehow find yourself trapped in quicksand, don't panic. Despite what you've seen in films, you're not going to get sucked under. The truth is, quicksand is denser than us, so you'll float more than you'll sink. Basically, the air in your lungs will keep your upper body above the quicksand, while your legs might get stuck. Now here's what you need to do to get out. Start with one leg and move it around a bit like you're stirring a big pot of soup. Doing this lets water seep down and break up the thick sand, making it easier to pull your leg out. Once you've got one leg out, bend forward onto the free knee. This helps spread your weight around and prevents you from sinking right back in. Now do the same stir the pot motion with your other leg. Pull it out, and there you go. You just got yourself out of quicksand.
3 ways to survive a zombie apocalypse. Number 1, get as far away from the cities as possible, being that there's going to be a ton of people around and not many corners to turn to. When being in most cities, you have high buildings. You don't want to get trapped on the roof of one of them and having to fight your way all the way down. I would suggest going towards the countryside. Number 2, make sure you have non-perishable foods. Things that are in cans. Things that can last long periods of time. Things like beans and canned chicken. Also, any kind of bottled or canned beverage will do. Preferably something that's refillable. Number 3, make sure you have a weapon that you're very comfortable with when going throughout this apocalypse. Something that doesn't make too much noise and deals a ton of damage, like a barbed wire baseball bat or a sledgehammer. Don't forget to like and follow if you want me to continue this series.
Got that from Negan, that barbed wire baseball bat off of Walking Dead.
The life of her husband after she found out that he was actually born a woman. In February of 2002, Elizabeth Brodowski met Angelo Headington, and Elizabeth was working as a salesman, and she went to the farm where Angelo was working. The two instantly hit it off, and they started a romantic relationship. About 3 months later, they ended up getting married, but the relationship quickly turned into one with anger, rage, and violence. 3 months into their marriage, Angelo viciously attacked Elizabeth, and this is what caused her to fatally stab Angelo in self-defense. When paramedics were called to the scene, they were checking out Angelo's body, trying to stop the bleeding, and that's when they noticed that his private area was actually a prosthetic, and he was born as a woman named Angela. Elizabeth stated that Angelo told her that his ex had burned his genitals in a fit of rage, so when they were intimate, it was always dark with the lights off, and she never saw him take off his clothes in front of her. Elizabeth was arrested on second-degree murder charges after Angelo had died in the hospital. Elizabeth told authorities that Angelo had attacked her and she had no other choice but to defend herself. The charges against Elizabeth ended up being dropped, and the grand jury determined that she did act in self-defense.
This is the only way to survive a tsunami. So if you start to see sea levels on the shore rising, take this as a sign of a tidal wave and move further inland. Ideally, as far back as possible, so run immediately. Now, it might be tempting to run for a car, but given that traffic will likely form as a result of the chaos, that will probably be pointless. So in order to move more freely, you should continue to walk. Also, keep an eye out for stampedes and large crowds of people to avoid being crushed. When the water starts to flood the area around you and reaches you, you're in the danger zone of a tsunami, and something much worse is yet to come. So instead of continuing to run inland, you should try to get as high as possible on a solid building. In order to climb up there, try looking for a ladder, because by this time the power has most likely been cut off. The only thing left to do is to wait to see if you reached a sufficient height. And at this point, well done, you made it.
Okay, we got some tips on how to survive the zombie apocalypse, tsunami, how to get out of quicksand. We learn the things that they secrets. Tap in with us. I don't even want to be in that situation, man, but I put that in my knowledge bank. So now I know what to do.
This story truly infuriates me. This woman was forced to marry this man, and only a few weeks later, she was found murdered. This is about 20-year-old Rukia Hadari, who moved from Afghanistan to Australia with her family at a very young age. In 2019, Rukia was forced by her mother to marry 25-year-old Muhammad Ali only 2 weeks after her mom introduced them. Leading up to the wedding day in November, Rukia was going around telling her friends, teachers, and counselors that she did not want to go through with the wedding, but had no choice because her mom told her that she had to do it. Before their wedding day, Rukia and Muhammad had only seen each other a few times, and during the ceremony, it's clear that she does not look happy or excited at all. After their ceremony, Rukia moved across the country to live with Muhammad, leaving her friends and family behind, and things quickly took a turn. Only 6 weeks after their wedding, Rukia's life was savagely taken by Muhammad after he got upset that she was not cooking or cleaning for him. He even took this video moments before he took her life and sent it to her family to try to embarrass her. Muhammad slit her throat with a kitchen knife, and then he called her brother to let him know what he did, and then he turned himself in. But here's the twist. Not only was Muhammad charged with murder and sentenced to life in prison, Rukia's mother was also found guilty and was the first person in Australia to be convicted of causing a person to enter into a forced marriage.
This teenager killed.
Yeah, that's an insane story, man. Like, a forced marriage where the other door didn't have no say. Like, she just forced to marry a stranger. Can't even imagine that. What has this world come to?
With his mom over a bad grade. This is 15-year-old Gregory Ramos. And on November 2nd, 2018, Gregory Ramos got into a fight with his mother, Gail Clevenger. The fight started over his bad school grades, which resulted in him strangling his own mother to death. Gregory then proceeded to call 2 of his friends to help him bury her body and stage a robbery at his house. Gregory buried her body under a church fire pit and was sentenced to 45 years in prison. Now, what I'm about to show you is Gregory explaining exactly how he committed the murder, and it's absolutely disturbing, because keep in mind, this was his own mother.
Whatever. Alright, I'll tell you what happened. Alright, so I got home, I got an argument with my mom. She slapped me across the face, she began to hit me. She started beating me. I didn't like it, so I strangled her to death. Alright? I put her in a wheelbarrow, I put her in my car, I took the car, I had a mental breakdown where I almost committed suicide 3 times. I drove around Daytona, I dropped the wheelbarrow in some random ass location, and I drove back to the church. I began to dig a hole. I dig a hole right under the fucking fire pit. I took a pretty deep hole, pretty deep, deep enough to put about an ankle, alright? All this time my mom was decomposing body. I dragged it from my car to the tried to cut the wedding ring off her finger because I wanted to pawn it, but I couldn't because I didn't have a knife strong enough to cut bones. Oh, well, whatever. Anyways, so I dug that hole, threw her body in there, filled it back in, made it look all nice and natural, dumped my clothes, and then I went home.
The easiest horror movies to survive. Number 1, Candyman. All you have to do is not say his name 3 times and you will survive. It might genuinely be one of the easiest movies you could survive as long as you're not dumb. Number 2, The Ring. They tell you, hey, don't watch this tape or you'll get cursed. And then you watch the tape and wonder why you're unalive. Just don't watch the tape and you'll be perfectly fine. Number 3, Chucky. Chucky is a doll. Remember that. Chucky's a doll. Yes, very smart, the intellect of a man that pretty much inhabited the doll when he was unalive. But nonetheless, it's a doll. I'm punting Chucky across the room. I'm sorry. Number 4, Pennywise. Now, me being a kid or me being an adult, I'm going nowhere near a storm drain. There's no way I'm going to the storm drain and having a conversation with someone dressed like a clown. It's just not gonna work for me. It's just not something I'm gonna do. The first 1,000 of you to click the link in my bio and subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Could you survive those movies, man? Just follow simple logic. It's really easy. Especially about this part about Chucky, man. He's a doll, but you can just chuck him across the roof.
How to survive a brain-eating amoeba. This deadly creature wants to live in warm, fresh water all over the world.
Okay. Never swimming in some fresh water. Got stuff in that water, man, that you don't want to enter in your body. Edit. Call them on like when we see it.
Here are 3 ways you can survive an encounter with the Slenderman.
Talk about it.
According to legend, the Slenderman is a malicious entity with supernatural abilities, known for stalking and tormenting its human victims, seemingly without cause. The first rule you'll need to follow if you suspect that the Slenderman is nearby is to always carry a camera or cellular device with photographic capabilities with you at all times. The Slenderman can only be viewed by children or through the lens of a camera, so this will allow you to know its location, erasing any chance of a surprise attack. Secondly, you'll want to keep an eye out for warnings posted by the Slenderman's previous victims. If you ever see any, run. Finally, if you're being chased by the Slenderman, try to avoid running on foot. The Slenderman is exceptionally fast, can teleport, and has arms that can extend more than 10 feet, so it's much safer to flee in a vehicle or take cover inside. Tag a friend if you're watching this alone, and follow for more.
Okay.
This perverted woman snuck into morgue and essayed over 40 corpses. This is a disturbing case of Karen Greenlee, a necrophile who described herself as a morgue rat. So Karen actually worked as an apprentice embalmer in Sacramento, California. On December the 17th, 1979, she stole the body of a 33-year-old man. Her intentions were to essay the corpse. Now on this occasion, someone actually saw her steal the body, and therefore police were able to easily track her down. And when they found her, she was trying to unalive herself. Authorities took her to the hospital, her stomach was pumped, and her life was saved. Since she was trying to unalive herself, she had written a chilling goodbye letter. In that letter, she confessed to having slept with the corpses of over 40 men. She said that the smell of death turned her on, and she admitted it was some sort of addiction. Lucky for Karen, at the time she was arrested, necrophilia was not illegal, and so she only spent 11 days in prison, and that was for trying to steal a dead body. Since then, Karen has changed her name and moved to another city. And let's just hope she kicks that addiction. I'm Harvs, and if you want to hear more stories about real life people, hit the plus.
Who wins in a fight? Winnie?
That is one of the most strangest and weirdest addictions I've ever heard in my life. She was probably the one who made that law go into effect, man. She only spent 11 days in jail. Come on, bro. These clips, man, that we be watching be breaking our reality, bro.
Winnie the Pooh from Winnie the Pooh, Blood Honey 2, or Art the Clown? Starting with Winnie the Pooh. If you guys have seen Winnie the Pooh, Blood Honey 2, you guys know Winnie the Pooh was standing on all kinds of business. Not only having super strength using multiple different weapons, but also having a ton of mobility and having health regeneration. If you guys have seen the movie, at the end of the movie, he is supposed to be unalived. And it cuts to a cutscene of where all of the characters except Piglet are still alive, meaning that Winnie the Pooh is more or less immortal, making this a little bit of a tougher task for Art the Clown. Now, hopping over to Art the Clown, as we know, he's a jokester. He enjoys unaliving. That's one of his favorite things. And you can tell by the movies that he genuinely enjoys it. But him not taking it seriously may be his downfall. Now, yes, I know he has a bag of tricks. He's extremely fast. He's extremely sly. And yes, he is also immortal, with the little clown girl who's able to more or less rebirth him, which we saw at the end of Terrifier 2. Of course, leading up to Terrifier 3 releasing later this year. So all in all, if it was a death match, Art the Clown versus Winnie the Pooh from Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, who do I think is going to win? If we're basing off of sheer strength, I'm going with Winnie the Pooh. All in all, I'm putting all of my chips on Winnie the Pooh. Now, I love Art the Clown, but all in all, I think Winnie the Pooh is packing him up. Like and follow for more, and comment down below who I should do next.
This woman was caught putting Roundup in her husband's Mountain Dew. This man from Missouri went to police after his home surveillance camera caught his wife, 47-year-old Michelle Peters, pouring Roundup, which is a chemical weed killer, into his favorite drink. He became a little suspicious in the beginning of May when he noticed that his Mountain Dew was tasting a little off. At first, he ignored the strange taste and continued to drink it, but a couple of weeks later, he began vomiting and having a sore throat. Then on June 12th, he reviewed surveillance footage in his garage where he kept his Mountain Dew in a fridge, and it shows his wife pouring the Roundup straight into the Mountain Dew bottle. Around that same time, he had told her that he was feeling sick, and all she said was that he probably had COVID and to stay away from the grandkids. Eventually, he went to police and Michelle was arrested, and at first her defense was that she mixed the Mountain Dew with the Roundup because she wanted to create this strong weed killer, and she had seen this on Pinterest. But eventually, she admitted to everything, and she said she did it because she was mad at her husband for being unappreciative after she threw him a 50th birthday party. She then expressed that she regretted it and she should have just divorced him. She was charged with first-degree domestic assault and armed criminal action.
All because he didn't appreciate a birthday party, man. You took it to that extreme. Your own wife, man. You have to watch everybody nowadays, bro. Imagine what happens if he didn't have that camera and he didn't know what was going on. If he wasn't recording around his house, what would have happened? He caught it just in time. That's an edit.
How sleep paralysis looks like.
It's like a damn demon. Oh crap. Oh man, what the fuck? What the hell is that?
This is why you should never leave your children alone in Disneyland. Allegedly, this 4-year-old girl named Lee went missing in Disneyland in Anaheim, California on October 12th. Lee was visiting the park with her family. They were having a great time, so they decided to get something to eat together, and that's when Lee realized that she really needed to go use the restroom. Surprisingly, the mother let 4-year-old Lee go to the restroom by herself because, after all, it is Disneyland. It's safe, right?
No, it ain't.
Time started to pass by, and Lee was taking longer than usual, so the mother went to the restroom to see what was going on. When the mom entered the restroom, she saw the most unbelievable thing ever. The mother witnessed a man taking Lee to an underground tunnel, and when she tried to go grab Lee, the door completely closed and she was unable to catch her. Allegedly, the mother ran out of the bathroom crying for help and contacting the authorities. Authorities and employees of Disneyland completely checked the bathroom and they could not find anything, and they just made it seem like she was crazy and making up the whole thing. Lee's father told Disney management that they should break down the floor of the bathroom to prove that there's not a tunnel, and they told him no. Disneyland management had told authorities that these parents had lost their mind and were completely making this up. The parents also wanted to see a video surveillance of when Lee was walking to the bathroom, but apparently it wasn't working that day.
What?
There's also one instance of where a mother is in the bathroom stall and she sees a hole going through the wall, and it looked like there was an underground tunnel where they could see them. In 2006, 35 Disney employees ended up getting arrested for crimes against children. So this story does not seem too far-fetched, but I guess we will really never know.
What is the biggest difference?
What do you guys think, man? Some of these clips we've been hearing, like stories about Disney, but like news like that always stays out the major, like I guess news circuits or something like that, because Disney is ties or something like that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they really had an underground like tunnel or something over there. They had the resources.
Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, in the new age slasher Art the Clown. It's this one thing. Gen slashers always hold true to this, because they're not threats. But will Art the Clown see it that way? I don't know, because from what I've been told, the first couple minutes of Terrifier 3 are said to be some of the most disgusting, disturbing, and shocking things we've ever seen. And that's saying a lot, because Terrifier 2 is absolutely insane, especially the bedrooms. People were literally running out of the theaters and throwing up when they first saw Terrifier 2. And if the first couple minutes of Terrifier 3 are said to be some of the most shocking and disturbing things we've seen from Art, what does that mean for this little person? What's going to happen? Because from the countless set photos we've seen, Art the Clown is dressed up as Santa Claus and going to the mall. Meaning he's going to have a ton of people around him sitting on his lap and telling him what he wants for Christmas. Now, we already know what Art the Clown wants for Christmas. He wants to decorate with people. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions and tags in this video. Do I think Art the Clown is genuinely going to pack this kid up? I don't know. I don't think Damien Leone is going to go that far, but if it's been said that this movie is going to be 10 times shocking, especially the first 5 minutes, and we've already seen the 2-minute clip where Buddy's going crazy downstairs, I really don't know if I would put it past Art the Clown for him to do this. I just kind of hope not.
Skinwalker disguising as human.
Okay, let's see it. Weird as hell. What do you guys think? Was that an actual skinwalker? He was walking weird as hell, man, so I don't know what the hell that was. We've been seeing some of those clips before, man. Fastball. Tragic story. Damn, man. Crap. Into this another tragic story. Okay. What the hell happened? Hmm. Oh man.
Arkansas. Hot Springs, Arkansas was actually about 400 miles away from the couple's original destination. What you're about to see is intense. What you just saw is the United States Coast Guard raiding a high-speed submarine in the Eastern Pacific Ocean moving more than 17,000 pounds of cocaine.
Oh, what the?
On June 18th, 2019, a Coast Guard surveillance aircraft tracked and intercepted the drug-filled narco sub hundreds of miles off the Colombian-Ecuadorian coastline. The video shows a member of the Coast Guard riding on top of the speeding submarine. He then starts pounding on the hatch and demanding it to come to a stop. 3 other Coast Guard members then jump ship and board the 40-foot-long submarine. The video then continues, and you see the presumed trafficker emerging from the submarine hatch with his hands up, surrender. And in total, 5 alleged smugglers were seized on board the vessel and were handed over for prosecution by the United States Drug Enforcement Administration.
Are these your friends, the police?
Now, just watch the full encounter unfold. It's honestly something straight out of a video game.
The hell? What's he saying?
That's gonna be hard to get on.
Oh, he just jumped.
Crazy. To make sure that he liked girls. Barbara Baekeland was born in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and because of her beauty, she became a model. She began to model for Vogue and was thrown into the Hollywood life. While Barbara was auditioning for roles, she got introduced to Brooks Baekeland, and they ended up sleeping together, and she thought the only way that she could secure his heart was by lying to him and saying that she was pregnant with his baby. The two ended up getting quickly married, and Barbara was working as a professional painter and Brooks was working as a writer. The both ended up seeing other people outside of their marriage, and for the first time, Barbara was actually pregnant, and she ended up having a son in 1946, and his name is Anthony, but they weren't sure if this was actually from her husband or from another person. The two ended up getting divorced after Brooks met a girl 15 years younger than Barbara, which pushed her over the edge. In 1967, Anthony was about 20 years old, and while he was in Switzerland, he met a man named Jake Cooper, and they started a relationship together. Barbara was not very supportive of her son's relationship choices, so she decided that she was going to fix him. That is when she decided to hire girls to sleep with her son. Obviously, this did not fix anything, so Barbara decided that she was going to sleep with her son, and hopefully this was going to change him. Anthony despised his mom and was thinking of ways he could end her life. On November 17th of 1972, Anthony had stabbed his mom with a kitchen knife, and she died almost immediately. Once police arrived at the scene, he confessed to everything, and he was actually released after 7 years. Once Anthony was released, he went to go live with his grandmother, and 6 days after he was released, he ended up stabbing her 8 times and breaking a lot of her bones, but thankfully she did survive. On March 20th of 1981, Anthony was found in his cell with a plastic bag wrapped around his head, and he had took his own life. There is a movie called Savage Grace, and it's actually based on this whole case.
What the hell? That last clip you saw together, Sheik, is one of the most disgusting cases, man, we heard yet. Had to have been. Seekers, if you guys stay with me to the end of the video, you're a true one, seeking the truth. I really appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, hit that post notification bell, like the video. Also, man, follow me on my social medias down below, so we always stay connected. Like I said, I drop videos once every single day, man. So we do daily uploads around here. You guys can catch you in the next one. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.